We're back. We're recording. Okay. Next question. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one. Is it okay to be a BFA in dance even if you don't know what you want to do with dance? Heck,
Yes.
Absolutely.
none of us know what we want to do. We don't have.
Exactly. We're all figuring it out as we go. Like,
We're literally about to be seniors and still I don't even know what I want to do.
I mean, like, we have ideas of what we want to do, but like, especially the climate that we're in right now, like, we don't even know what will be available in a year from now. So we're just trying to make it work.
Yeah.
I think what's awesome about dance is dance has such a multi-directional field. You know, you don't have to become an artist to necessarily be a part of the art or a part of the conversation. You can do law and dance. You can do like the managerial side of things. Like there's so much, and there's so much open to you.
But also there's places offer like a BA program instead of a BFA. So a BFA program is about like, I think more than 2/3 of your coursework is in studio work. So that's like practicing dance, embodying dance, repertory, different things. But a BA program is more of like the analytical side of dance and like looking at it from a scholarly lens. So there's a lot of programs that offer BA. If you don't want to necessarily do stuff in the realm of performance art, then a BA program might be a better option for you. It just depends on like what your goals are. But the question is like, if you don't really know what you want to do, maybe that's something you just figure out like when touring these different places and going to different colleges, seeing what they have to offer and researching like just all the different like options so that you can make an informed decision when you're deciding. So
I think also like as like your time progresses in like college and university or in a program, your like eventually your like aspirations will change. Like my aspirations coming into school have changed drastically within the last 3 years, and they will probably change by the time I get to graduation. So I think just being open to the idea of change and like being like, okay, let's try this, and maybe you fall in love with something that you never thought you would have, and that is like the beauty of going through programs like this.
Yeah, so true. And the thing about getting a BFA in dance is that it's 4 years of your life. And like McKay said, my first year in college was extremely different, and my ideas on what I wanted to do were extremely different from where I'm at today. And also, unfortunately, what happens in the world affects what you want to do, even if you don't want that to be a factor. And that's not just with Corona. There's always going to be something going on. And especially in dance, the field is always going to have ebb and flows. So yeah, I think honestly, if dance is a passion for you and you want to go to school for that and a BFA interests you, go for that. Even if you have no clue what you want to do, because I can promise you that even if you see people, maybe you go to college and you see like the college seniors in your BFA program, I promise you they have no clue what they're doing. Right. So you are not alone. Just because you're a first year does not mean that you have to have it all figured out. And just because you're a fourth year doesn't necessarily mean you have to have it all figured out. No one has it all figured out. Our professors don't even have it all figured out.
Nobody knows.
No one knows.
And then at the end of the day, honestly, if you decide that you're unhappy with your major, you can always change. Like that's one of the coolest parts about school, is that like you're there to find out who you are and where you want to go with the rest of your life. And then 20 years down the line, if you don't like where you are, you can go back to school and learn something else. Like I think that's one of the coolest things about education in general. So, you know.
And dance is really flourishing in academic institutions now. So there's so many different ways to keep it in your life if it's not a BFA, like dance team, dance companies, a certificate, like minor program. So there's so many different ways that you can keep dance in your life if it's something you're like passionate about, but maybe it's not something you necessarily want to pursue as a career. So just keeping that in mind as well.
Very true. Yes. Okay. Next question. Do you suggest becoming a part of clubs?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Which kind? Yeah.
Speaking from at least my experience, I'm not the type to be like, yes, I'm going to be a part of clubs. Like, I'm just not that personality. I did try to be in a sorority. That didn't even work for me. But if that's something that you're interested in, or even not interested in, but you kind of feel like you have time on your hands, or if there's something kind of missing in your experience, clubs are the first thing that you should think of. In my opinion, and I think the reason also why I'm not super interested in joining clubs is because my personal schedule does not allow me time to even think about joining clubs. So, but every program is so different and every person is different. And there's even people in our program that have found plenty of time to do everything they want to and join clubs and do all of that. And I think those people are insane and amazing. And I'm just not one of those people that can do that. But if you are that person that's interested in that, then absolutely join clubs.
Yeah.
Oh, go McKay, sorry.
So personally, I went through the rush process at school. So I ended up joining a sorority last year in fall of 2018. And I'm currently sitting on the executive board of my sorority as VP risk manager. And I absolutely love it. I was always really involved in my school. Like, I cheered and was an ambassador. So I wanted to be a part of the school dynamic that was kind of outside of my major. And so that was the way I found it best. And honestly, like, most schools I think have like huge club fairs, and like they have clubs for like absolutely anything and everything. So I think if you have like a passion that you're like, okay, maybe I'm not like completely wanting to like focus on that as like my major, but like I want to do that, it can definitely, a club is the way to go. And personally, I found it through sorority life, and I would never look back and change it.
I've never. Oh, sorry. No, Aurora, go.
Okay. I was gonna say that I actually feel sometimes like Taya said, like my schedule's super hectic, and I don't always feel like I have the time to necessarily join extracurricular clubs. But I sometimes feel like my minor is a club because like I meet people from different walks of university life and stuff. So people have different interests, but that ours kind of intersect, and that's been a really cool way. I know a lot of people join clubs to like meet new people and meet people with different interests or meet people with common interests. So for me, my minor has been like that. Obviously, academic work as well, but yeah, there are other ways to meet people if that's your goal.
And also, similar to not really talking about clubs, like student worker positions, like make it fun to meet new people at school. And working is just great to like get some coin in that pocket. So yeah, I mean, yeah.
Save up in college, y'all. That is like the biggest piece of advice I have. Like, try.
Because it is difficult to do so, and like especially like within 4 years, and you have to move on and move into the actual world, and you want to have like a little bit of security. Yeah. But it is hard. I know.
Absolutely. And I think going along those lines is kind of steering away from the question, but with getting a job, look into your program or programs that you're interested in and see if they have student worker positions and things like that. Because like people said, sometimes for certain people, if you're in a program that's really rigorous, it might be easier to join like an add-on in that program. So sometimes getting a job is like hitting two birds with one stone, because you get to meet people that you don't necessarily always have contact with, and you're also making money. So like that's everything you can ask for. So yeah. Okay, anything else? All right, this next question is specific to a university that none of us go to, but I think we can still have insight on it. And I reached out to a friend at this university, and they have a little thing to say. So the question is, how are scholarships going to be given in Chapman with the GPA instead of the SAT? My friend Emma Wall, she is part of the class of 2021 at Chapman, and she's in the dance program there. She says that Chapman merit scholarships were originally based on test scores as well as grades and GPA. Now that standardized test scores are optional, the student's GPA will carry the majority of the weight when it comes to determining scholarships.
Is the questions about like high school GPA going into college, not college GPA?
Correct, high school GPA.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah, because they got rid of the SATs because no one can take them right now. So it's weighed heavily on GPAs, which, and I know some of us were bringing it up earlier, but the SAT is hard and dumb. So I kind of love that it's not a thing.
How many times did you guys take it?
Of access.
I took the ACT 3 times.
Yeah, ACT 3 times, SAT 3 times. The second time they messed up and didn't give me the writing test, even though I paid for it. So.
No way.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I know that the SAT is like brings up lots of issues for some people. I think it's an archaic way to base someone's knowledge. Most people don't perform well in stressful environments. A lot of people don't have access to money to pay for that kind of a test. I don't know. I think it's kind of a good thing. I think the SAT should just be rid of.
Yeah.
Hot take.
Yeah.
As far as GPA goes, I'm trying to think like if scholarships are based off of high school GPA rather than test scores, like GPA is something that you've been working toward cumulatively for 4 years. So you have relationships with teachers that understand why your GPA is the way it is, especially in high school. College, university, you get to a place where it's like there's 300 students in the one course you're taking, so they don't even know who you are. But like in high school, a teacher might know a reason why you might have a GPA that is what it is, or a grade that you don't agree with, or that isn't exactly what you want it to be. So I feel like there's almost more, not wiggle room, but if there's something you need to specify on your application about why your GPA is the way it is, I'm guessing that you can probably appeal something. If there's, I feel like there's a little more space now to be able to explain what's going on in your life, especially with something like this going on with COVID and everything. I think schools are going to be willing to look more into the fine print of your situation. I would hope so, at least.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. Okay, last question. What do you love the most about your school, and what made you choose it?
Whew. Hard hitter.
No. I'll go first. Something that I love specifically about the program that I'm in. Oh, bye, Sim. Love you. Something that I love about our program is the camaraderie that I think the faculty and the people that, here's Simran just coming back. I'll wait for her to come back.
And we back.
You good?
Sorry, my computer died.
No, you're good.
I'm back on my phone.
Welcome back. I was saying that something that I love about our program is the camaraderie. And I think that being that our program that we're all in, being that it's a newer program, we are lucky because our voices are very important to them, because they obviously are building a new school and want opinions on the people that it's actually affecting. So that's something that I love, is that I feel like my voice, for the most part, is always heard. And even if there's not immediate action, there's always someone who's asking, what can we do? And there's even, we have little boxes for like,
They acknowledge it.
Yeah, exactly. They acknowledge it. You always have a place and voice. Something else that I love is that for our program specifically, we take class with the people in our class. All of our dance classes are always together. And for my class, which is all of us in here, it's so fun and it's brought us so much closer. And I feel like I'm going to walk away from this experience with 20 best friends. And I honestly feel like it's a family environment, and we all interact very well together. That can't be said. I mean, I don't know, maybe we're unique, like that can't be said for every single class that's going to come in, but for most of the classes that we've interacted with, they've said the same thing. So I think that's something that's working really well for our program.
Yeah, and you know, it's so funny. I dreamt about going to the school that I currently attend for as long as I can remember, even before there was a dance program. So it kind of just felt right that when it was announced that there was a dance program at this school, I was like, okay, I have to attend. Like, I have to make this work some way or another. Um, so yeah, I chose this place because one, it was a huge dream and goal of mine, but also because the reality lived up to the expectation. Like, it felt like home. It wasn't just like a mirage or an oasis. Like, it actually lived up to what I thought it could be, which I think is important because we all have expectations about schools and environments. So yeah, I think it's just really important finding where you feel like home.
Yeah, personally, when like once I like found out about my program, one thing that I love personally, obviously I said I was joined a sorority, but like the fact of like being able to like hop into like a cinema class, a music class, heck, like a psych class, like anything and like everything, because it's a full like university, it was like really appealing to me. Because if I did say like, okay, like I in my junior year, I want to take like a physics class or something, like I can if I want to. Bye, Sim.
Bye,
Um,
everyone. Sorry to interrupt.
no, you're good. But also like I love like football and sports, so I go to as many football games as I possibly can get to, and like basketball games and baseball games. So like the fact that I have like a full like D1 university and a like amazing BFA conservatory program all smashed into one, that was like the biggest appeal to me.
I think my favorite part about the program that I'm at with all of these lovely people is the community. Um, like Taya had said earlier, like there is like a great like camaraderie between the cohorts and the faculty and the staff. Something that I also like is that the school is not only challenging us to be like artists, but just like thought leaders and put like leaders in the field pushing it forward in ways that are either not even known or innovative to what is the status quo currently. So I really like that aspect of it. Like we're just always on the cutting edge, whether it's like with repertory and like the guest artists coming in and getting exposed to their perspectives on dance, or just like, I don't know, really like I think our philosophy is like really cool of just like being relevant, being current, being fluid and adaptable to the times. So
For me, just being given the opportunity and platform to be given an opportunity and platform, you know, I like just enjoy that I'm given the space to create and to try and fail and try again and fail again and try again, and you know, that vicious cycle that artists have to go through. And I'm just really appreciative that I get to do that, and I have the resources of my community, my school, my program, and my faculty at my disposal. Yeah.
I really love, I mean, I can concur with everyone. Like, all the things you guys have said is just, yes, they're all amazing. And I love you guys a lot. But I think my favorite thing has actually been the combination of like dancing, because I love dance so much, and then learning all this background information about the form that I never knew, and then being able to form my own opinions about where I think it's going to go, or what is going to happen in my life next. The combination for me of like academics and dance has been one of the coolest discoveries in college for me, and I'm really lucky that I get to go to a university that values those two intersecting as much as they do, the art and the academia of it, because I value those a lot. So.
I actually have a question from a friend, but they asked, how did you prepare for the interview portion? I'm not sure if everybody, like every college does this. At the college we all attend, we had a interview from like the faculty after like kind of the day. Personally, how I prepared is I thought about like what might be the questions they asked. So like why USC, like why we picked this school, and also like something that like I was told from like an old like mentee of mine was like, go through your resume and be like knowing like, okay, they've looked through your resume, like if they ask you about like someone you've worked with, like be prepared to answer any questions about that, and just kind of be as candid as possible. Like don't tell them what you think they want to hear, but tell them what you like truly believe. I literally talked about football and cheering for like 2 minutes of mine, so just be as candid as possible.
I did no prep.
Same. I remember for my interview, I think I had to do my solo and then the interview. Well, no, that's not true. I interviewed with the panel and then I did my solo, but then they continued to ask questions after. And I was so out of breath, which is obviously something you can't prepare for. Like, what am I supposed to do? Run a mile and then practice answering questions? Like, that's just not something you can prepare for. So, of course, you know, like McKay was saying, there's, you know, all kinds of practice that you can do and practice with your parents and, you know, stuff like that, just on basic questions that they may ask, because you obviously won't know what they're going to ask until you're in that room. But I think also be prepared for anything, because you never know walking into there. So yeah, I don't know if there's even great advice in anything that I've said just now, but like I didn't prep, and I was also ill prepared on talking while panting. But it worked out for me. So don't put too much pressure on it. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to have a perfect interview, because no one's interview is going to be perfect. And also, speaking from our faculty, I know that they don't want to see a perfect interview at all. And I can tell you right now, every single person in this group and in our class did not have a perfect interview, and some may have said they had like a terrible interview, and we all got in. So I think just be yourself is probably the best way to prepare for anything. Is just be yourself. And
I literally sat in like the wrong chair. They were like, why are you sitting? I sat at like there's a long for one of my interviews, there's a long like table, and I sat at the end, and everyone's sitting on this side, so they're all like looking over this way, like, why are you over there? I was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Got up, moved, we talked for a while, I danced, they asked me more questions like Taya, and then the vice dean of the program said, thank you so much, you can go. And I was breathing so hard because I hadn't run a mile and answered questions that I couldn't hear her. I couldn't hear her say, like, you can go now. So I just stood there breathing. And she goes, are you okay? And I was like, yes. And she goes, I said you could go. And I was like, oh my God. Like, that was it. In my brain, I was like, this is the end. And then here I am. But, you know, it's like, it's not about answering questions perfectly. If like at that point in an interview they care about who you are, because they want to know that they're going to be able to work with you for 4 years and not want to tear their hair out, you know.
They are trying to make sure that like you're gonna vibe with like the rest of the students that are already there. Like our program is very, very small. I think there's barely 100 students in it, and so they're like kind of looking to see like, okay, like, will you mesh with like your class, but also like the 3 grades above you.
And it's like, I don't know, I think it's really important what Taya said about being yourself. It's so cliche to like say that, but it is really like the truth. They don't want like carbon copies of other people. They really want to see like your individual self. And if that means cracking a joke or just like I don't know, I have this awkward laugh thing where I kind of just like trail off and I'm like, like, but it's, I don't know, I can't like recreate it like without like doing it like in the moment, because it's just like how I deal with like awkwardness, I guess, and I don't even realize it. And I'm sure that came out, but I did like have like my interview and solo round of the school that I'm at now was like interview solo round from like down under. It was so bad. I remember they were asking me all kinds of questions like about my resume, and I got like messed up because someone that taught me modern dance at my studio knew one of the faculty members and I didn't connect the two. And then I did my solo, and then they asked me, how did that feel? And I looked at all of them and I was like, what do you want to hear my honest answer? And they're like, of course. And I'm like, that was horrible. I'm so nervous, like blah, blah. And they're all just looking at me like, okay. And then I was like, okay, like, thank you so much. And then I ended up emailing them after the interview, like saying, hey, I just want to tie some things together that I didn't say in the interview that I like had, and then I went on this long thing in an email. But I think it was endearing. I mean, I was a hot mess, but that's what I am. And I think that they just like accept me for who I am, and that's great.
You're not a hot mess.
I mean, we are, like, I've accepted it.
I think we all are in different ways.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's like dance, especially if you're going for a dance program. If you're not, this still all applies, obviously, because, you know, it's just connection. But that's the thing. Like, dance is about connecting with people. And it's about the work as much as it is about the performance. And so the way that you work with people is reflected a lot in the way you talk to them. And the way you treat them. So at the end of the day, the faculty, the panel, whoever it is, they're gonna go home, they're gonna have dinner with their kids or their spouses or their dog or whatever, you know, and be like, which person was nice to me and was kind and was funny, or, you know, like who would I want to spend the next 4 years with? That's really all an interview is.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
It's like, who did I make a connection with that like is resonating in my head? And it's not about forcing that. It's just like, I don't know, just having positive vibes going in and just being open and answering candidly is like really the best thing you can do.
Yeah, I think that's the best advice too, is not forcing it, because I mean, you know, if you were on the other side and if someone was just feeding you everything you want to hear and this picture perfect idea of yourself, they're going to know. People can see right through that and they'll know that it's forced. And I know that we all go into it and we're like super nervous and scared and like, you know, shaking, and like Matthew had to email them all the stuff that he meant to say because he didn't actually say it. Like, that's gonna happen. It's nerves. And as many times as you can practice that, you know, of course you'll get better and more comfortable with it, but you're not gonna know what to expect until you get in there. So literally the only thing that you have is to be yourself. So I think that's kind of the best advice that any of us can give, is just go in there and show your own personality, and that'll probably work out better than if you try to sell them something that you think is an idea of who they want in their program.
Absolutely. I think also like just trusting the process of like college application in general. I know this time is crazy, but I still think no matter what, like I think everyone has heard this 1,000 times when applying to schools. It's just like, don't worry, trust the process. You'll end up where you want to be and like what's best for you. And I did not believe that one bit. I was like, no, I'm going to end up like in some crazy like La La Land, but I ended up in the program that I'm in today. And like,
You ended up in La La Land.
Basically, yeah, I did end up in La La Land. But it just trust the process. Like,
also, I just thought of something that is actually really important. If you have an option, like put on something that makes you feel comfortable and confident, like going in, like outfit can really tell a lot about somebody, or like the way that you're presenting yourself. It just says a lot about like who you are, if it's like a pop of color and what you're wearing, or just like slicking back your hair and like looking nice, because when you like feel good and like you look good, like you'll probably perform better. So, and like when I talk to my vice dean about my audition, sometimes she'll bring up, oh, I remember you were wearing the teal tights at your audition. So they like remember those things. Like you make an imprint when you like look your best. So
I kid you not, I had an audition lipstick. Like, it made me, my dance teacher took me one day and she said, Aurora, you're a white girl with brown hair. We're going to get you lipstick. And I was like, what? But that's not the moral of the story. The moral of the story is that I would get to these auditions and I would put on this lipstick and I'd be like, okay, like that was my way of like mentally getting into it, of like, it's it. Like, we're just going to dance. We're going to have a good time. But yeah, like Matthew said, like those little things might be able to help kind of like center your mind.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I wore the same leotard for every audition that I auditioned for. Like, there was no changing it. It was the same leotard, the same pair of tights. I washed them out in the sink. If I had back-to-back auditions, like,
Okay.
it was just like a ritual for me to have like the exact same thing, and like that was just like my go-to. And I was like, all right, we're doing this, like we're getting it together. And that was just kind of like finding your thing that's going to make you feel best and most comfortable, whether it's a leotard, whether it's lipstick, whether it's a hairpin or a hair tie. Like, finding what is going to make you feel comfortable and strong is, like, I think a key aspect of going to any audition.
Yeah, and also something that I think is really cool. One of the artists in residence, like from our school, gave this advice that when you're going to audition, like instead of like not doing anything up until the audition, like start your day, maybe go get like a bite to eat, like do things so that it takes kind of like a little bit of the edge off of the nerves that you'll have, like just like kind of make it like a part of the day, but not the only thing that you're like looking forward to doing, and stopping yourself from like, I don't know, having a normal day, because you're just going in, you're dancing, and then you're like done. So just like letting it be like a more normalized thing than like something that you get so nervous and freaked out that you can't even like perform optimally.
Yeah, and just one last thing to add real quick. Also, it's not like you're interviewing for a job and there's only one position. You're interviewing for to be a part of an entire class. And every single person that you're in there, at least for dance, well, and for any college interview, you're amongst many other students who are also interviewing. And I can promise you, no one in that group of students has like the key to the perfect interview, and they're going to walk in there and just blow them away. You're all in the same position. You're all starting at ground zero. So yeah, just remember that you're not alone. Everyone in there is just as nervous as you are. And so is speaking for our faculty, they'll sometimes tell us they're nervous for interviews, like they have to ask questions and they have to sit up there and be professional. Like, everyone's nervous. Literally, there's so much tension in that room because everyone's just anxious and nervous. Like, everyone's in the same position. So I think if you can honestly walk in there and just be your confident self and just be like, this is who I am. You either love it or you don't. You either want me in your program or you don't, not in a cocky way, but just all you can be is yourself. So you might as well just walk in there and be confident. I think is the best advice. We've all given really good advice. Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, you guys, that was our last question. Thank you for joining our Q&A on all things college, and we'll have plenty more of these throughout the summer. This was just our first one. So thanks you guys for joining me, because this would not have been interesting if it was just me at all. I love you guys. I miss you guys, and we'll talk to everyone later.
Yeah, don't forget